Kia ora, g'day, I'm Philip Duncan. Thanks for joining us for our 7-day Australia-only forecast and your 7-day rainfall outlook. And we're taking a look at the big picture today because there is a lot of low pressure forming up around the tropics, and it stretches all the way from east of Fiji, sort of around the Fiji area, right across the top of Australia, right over the Indian Ocean, and as far away as Madagascar and Africa. So we're going to be showing you some of those maps in this video today. Meanwhile, further down at the southern end of Australia, it's high pressure that is dominating. Some of the more powerful highs that we've seen this summer are now starting to push on through, and that's the reason why you're still getting cooler southerly breezes coming in to the southern parts of Australia, while up here around Bowen, Townsville area, the Whitsundays, you're getting that tropical, very wet easterly now kicking in. So let's try and break it all down for you. Here we are on Friday. Look at the big picture map here. So far right-hand side of your screen, we're talking about around the Tonga, Samoa area. You go all the way across northern Australia, past Indonesia, Madagascar, Africa, South Africa, seeing low pressure all the way along that area. To the south, same stuff. Big storms down around the Southern Ocean, they're still around. They have eased back a wee bit in the last week. And the high pressure belts coming in around the southern Indian Ocean and the southern parts of Australia and off towards New Zealand. So here on Friday, we're still seeing a cooler, it's not necessarily cold, but a slightly lower temperature coming in for coastal parts of New South Wales. That's where we're still getting some wet weather. It's well north of Sydney though, and around Brisbane, it's still mainly dry, a few showers there. But up around the Whitsundays, that's where you're getting this very tropical feed of weather. Now, you've probably heard, if you live in Queensland, there's a lot of low pressure around. I've seen some of the news stories, they're kind of over the top because the minute the Bureau of Meteorology say there's a tropical depression, the news outlets jump to cyclone risk everywhere. And to be honest with you, it needs the right conditions. It doesn't just need a low pressure zone, you need more than that. So we do have good conditions around the north of Australia for a cyclone to form, but whether it forms in the Coral Sea, north of, around Northern Territory or out past Western Australia over the Indian Ocean, that's the part not locked in yet. So it's worth monitoring these lows with this heavy rain, especially up around the Whitsundays. But elsewhere, it's actually not looking too bad. Still windy though around those southern states. Let's go into Saturday. Not a great deal of change still. It's windy around the southwestern corner of Western Australia, calm the further northwards you go. Got some wet weather there. Over around Queensland, again, it's the Whitsundays getting this very heavy rain coming through. Tropical low pressure zones in the area, straight off the Coral Sea. Perfect kind of weather for that. Also on Saturday, noticing the heat pushing further southwards now, further across South Australia, further into Victoria, and also warming up around Tasmania as that high pressure zone moves further out there to the east. So Sunday looks like this, a bit closer up now to get a better view of what's going on. You see this heavy rain, so mostly around Townsville, down to Mackay, Bowen, places like that, seeing some very heavy rain in the days ahead, in the week ahead actually. A friend of mine works for a radio station in Cairns, and hello Stu, and we were talking about this yesterday, what's happening with these rain bands, and I described it as lumpy. You're going to see areas of heavy rain like this and some other little patches of heavy rain. But generally speaking, there's no big sort of monsoon rain coming right down over the top of Australia, not yet. It is arriving very late, but we are starting to see more signs of it with these low pressure zones around northern areas. And the other bit of good news, as this heat drops southwards even further on Sunday, so all of South Australia caught up in that, and further down around a big portion of New South Wales as well and into Victoria, you're going to see afternoon downpours, and I know that's going to be very welcome in these areas here with the blue shading. Not everyone will get a huge amount of rain though. Some of these areas may only be getting 5 millimeters, so it's not necessarily a drought breaker, but there are some downpours coming into that forecast. But still, this rain up here closer to Townsville is the main area of concern. And as we kick off next week, it's still there. Between Cairns and going down to Mackay, that's the area being fed by this very tropical north to northeasterly wind coming down. It's that breeze that comes down into South Australia, New South Wales and Victoria, producing some of those downpours, afternoon thunderstorms, welcome rain for those who need it, coming through into Sunday and Monday afternoons. Still not as hot though along coastal parts of New South Wales, although it's a northerly, so it's not exactly cold, but it's not as hot as those further inland where the red line is. And obviously over here, still windy. Kalgoorlie down to Albany in the southwest, still getting that windy, hot, dry, east to southeasterly wind. And finally, probably looked at that first and I'm mentioning it last, the tropical cyclone, possibly forming offshore there. It does look to be offshore, so it doesn't pose a threat yet to land, and certainly the long-range guidance suggests it might drift further out to sea. So for now, not a concern, but certainly could become a severe tropical storm, and obviously that will push back, if it doesn't move any further away, that will push back some large swells into the western side there, Port Hedland down southwards. Probably only really around the corner here. I don't think you'll be seeing it further down than that. But certainly in that area, the chance of some severe weather possible, but at the moment, based on that map, heavy rain, strong winds, they're offshore, away from you, and the heavy rain still up here around Townsville. Flooding risks continue, and we're seeing more of those heavy showers continuing with that line around the high pressure zone, the next one coming through. So the outer edges of it, that's where you're seeing those downpours coming through. And again, this is a cooler wind coming through. So hot weather for Victoria, but just to the south here around Tasmania, here's your next cold change. Your next southerly is about to come on through. And I'm sorry I'm not talking about you much over the Tasman Sea, Norfolk Island and Lord Howe Island, just seeing a few showers, easterly winds blowing through for you on the top end of that high pressure zone. So as we go to the middle part of next week, we've got two lows to keep an eye on. We've got the possible tropical cyclone off to the west of Carnarvon and Port Hedland, and we've still got this very heavy rainmaker around Townsville, a tropical low stuck in there. That's one of the ones that I think the Bureau is talking about might become a tropical cyclone. But these long range maps are quite useful at sort of just seeing if it is going to be a storm or not. And for now, that doesn't look like a cyclone. Tomorrow's update could change it. There is a lot of energy up here. It's kind of messy, and all it takes is for it to start spinning properly. And once it gets going, then it drags in all the other energy around it. The next thing you know, you've got a storm forming. So you've got to keep an eye on that. But it's good to see all these showers bubbling up from the southeastern corner all the way to the inland parts of South Australia. Windy though, down here in Victoria. Could be severe gales on Wednesday from anywhere from Canberra further down into inland parts of Victoria, and that southerly coming through for Tasmania, keeping your temperatures down. So Thursday next week, here's our final map. High pressure remains south of Australia. The windy easterlies carry on from Sydney to Canberra, Melbourne, Adelaide, Perth, and everyone in between. They won't necessarily be damaging winds, but they're going to be around blustery, hot, dry kind of conditions, especially for Western Australia. The further to the west you are, the warmer, hotter it gets. And up here, still a lot of heavy rainmakers, thunderstorms. That heavy rain's still just hanging around the Coral Sea there. But the next high pressure system here around Tasmania, driving in this easterly winds. And so temperatures in Sydney won't be excessive as a result of that airflow. So let me try and make sense of the rainfall. Here is the next 7 days. We don't have every place name on these maps. We don't get to choose where the place names go. They just appear. And for the people who complain, why is my town not on it? If we had every town in Australia, the map would only show place names. So we just randomly do it like this so you can kind of get your bearings. So look at all the heavy rain up here to the north. Queensland, northeast Queensland, Mackay, Whitsunday areas, looking like they're going to get some pretty heavy rain, 100 to 300 millimetres at a minimum. Could be seeing half a metre of rain falling in some of those areas. So keep a close eye on the weather, especially between Townsville and Mackay. I think that area is most exposed. Also over around the Kimberley region, seeing some heavy rain there. But considering the monsoon is now arriving, it is not necessarily as wet as it could be. Now, if you live in this area and think I'm wrong or right, please do let me know. I don't deal a lot with the monsoon weather here where I'm based in New Zealand, but we do obviously monitor it further to the north. So if I'm getting anything wrong about what you would normally be getting at this time of the year, let me know. But from what I can see, it is arriving very late. And even when it's arriving, apart from this part of Queensland, not everyone is going to be seeing a huge amount of rain. All right, well, that is all from me for today. Our final image is the flight of the week, and this one is Bowen, Queensland, because this is where the rain is at the moment. And here we are in the cockpit of the plane. You can see the raindrops hitting as we flew over this morning. Bit of turbulence, real-time weather, so that's why it's not a beautiful sunny day to show off your lovely town. Instead, this is what it looks like on a cloudy day, and you've got plenty more days like this on the way, but it's not cold. Maximum temperatures 27 to 30 degrees, and at the coldest part it'll be 23 degrees with probably near 100% humidity. And for the next 7 days, rain is every day, although you might find it breaks up into kind of showers at times. There could be some thunderstorms in the mix as well. So we are expecting quite a bit of rain falling in the Whitsunday region over the next week. And that's all from me. Thanks very much for joining us. Thank you for all the great comments on YouTube. Have yourselves a great weekend, and we'll catch you again next week.